massive finca out in the half-wild outback between Loxahatchee and Belglade. Polo had fallen on hard times after the dot-com implosion. But now the money was back in the game. New barns were going up everywhere, so sumptuous and kept so clean that you wouldn't mind living in them. And matches were happening daily at the new International Polo Club and on myriad private fields. I found Artie slumped in the corner of a wooden booth at a sawdust bar where the Mexican grooms hung out when Polo was in town. It had cheesy pine paneling, two bright lights, waitresses in crotch-hugging denim shorts pulling shots off a square central bar, a couple of billiard tables, and a jukebox full of norteño and Selena's cumbias. The booth was carved with arrows and hearts, Randa y Miguel. A glass of white wine was sweating on a Corona Light cocktail napkin. He looked up as I sat across from him with his silver gray eyes. I know now, from research done later, that Artie had made a pile in legal fees out of mergers and leveraged buyouts in the Ivan Boesky days. He played some polo, not very well, as I'd been tipped, but he adored the game, and that was why he had moved from Manhattan to Wellington when 35 years of lawyering had felt like enough. He was 62 when we sat down. Not a bad-looking guy. His nose wasn't really all that large, though his tiny, nearly perfect ears skewed the perspective some. He looked taller than he was, having learned that the way you accomplish that is to wear shoes that match your pants. He had let his hair blanch naturally to the color of his eyes, and you wouldn't notice the bald spots unless you studied him. He was tanned, but not to the usual cordovan of the active retiree, and there was a soupçon of grace, a quiet decency about him, though at the moment his nervousness was overriding it. "Do you want a drink?" he asked me. "Sure, an Amstel Light. I've got a whole bottle of this wine." "Wine in a cowgirl bordello? I bet it sucks. In truth, it is disgusting." "Yeah, thanks for the offer, then." Artie called a waitress over. She was blonde, and her legs were endless. We both watched her ass roll as she went to order my beer. I pulled a pad and pencil out of my attaché. "So, what do you have to tell me, Art?" "It's Arthur." "Oh yeah, I forgot." Artie mopped his face with his shirt sleeve. It was bloody hot in that bar. "All right, but before I tell you, I want a promise from you." I tilted my head endearingly. "Yeah? And what would that be?" "That you won't print anything until it's over with." "You mean it isn't over with?" "You promise?" "Okay, sure." I didn't know what Artie had, so I could promise anything. He worked his full lips doubtfully. Artie was not in the mood to trust. Then he shrugged and went right to it, and this is what I got. Artie had picked up the phone and punched in his brother Teddy's number. This was last March or April. Artie wasn't positive. He didn't like to call Teddy because Teddy was hard to like. Artie's son David was annoying. Teddy was aggravating. Artie heard the words family values on TV, code words, he believed, for normal, simple, conservative. His family, which included, after his parents had died, David, Teddy, and Artie's ex-wife Norma Jean, was not normal, not conservative, not simple. It was weird, radical, complicated, and full of misplaced rage. Artie never spoke to his son David. He didn't remember what they had fought about. The subject didn't matter. The estrangement was destiny. Even when they'd been speaking, they never said anything. Artie was convinced that in the moment David opened his eyes, they had looked at each other, and they'd both said, "Fuck." Teddy was grating, abrasive,
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.